just vibing out. Maybe they're just snoozing at your feet.
Yeah.
And then bam, full body shakes. It's like, what is that?
Right.
So we're doing a deep dive on dog shakes today, specifically with your Labrador in mind.
Okay, cool.
Now, obviously, we've all seen our dogs shake off water after a bath.
Of course.
Or even get the zoomies from excitement.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what we're talking about here.
Right.
We're going deeper, looking at those head-scratching shakes.
Right.
The ones that make you go, is that normal or should I be freaking out?
Yeah.
Like, is my dog okay?
Right, exactly.
So how do we even start to understand all the reasons a dog might shake?
Well, to break it down,
Okay.
we could think about it in two main categories. We've got medical or physical causes,
Makes sense.
and then we've got the behavioral ones.
Okay, so like, is it their body saying help,
Exactly.
or is it more of a reaction to something happening around them?
You got it. It's like solving a puzzle, figuring out which category those shakes fit into,
I like that.
because then you know how to respond.
That's key, right? Because like with human health, sometimes those signs aren't always super obvious.
Right.
And dogs, they're pros at hiding their pain sometimes, aren't they?
Oh, totally. Masters of disguise.
So those shakes could be a clue.
Big time.
Speaking of clues, this Pet MD article you shared,
Yeah,
it highlights some surprising medical reasons for shaking.
for sure.
I mean, shivering, that's obvious, right? Dog's cold. But low calcium.
Yeah.
Hypo what now?
Hypocalcemia.
That can cause tremors too.
It can.
Never would guess that.
It's not something that rolls off the tongue every day.
That's true.
But basically, low calcium messes with your dog's nerves, and that can lead to those shaky movements.
So we're talking like a mineral imbalance can have a physical effect like that.
Exactly.
Huh. Okay, so are there things that make a dog more prone to that, to low calcium?
Yeah, absolutely. Certain breeds, actually, like your Labrador Retriever,
Really?
yep, they can be prone to hypocalcemia, especially after giving birth.
Oh, wow.
So they might need some extra calcium supplements during pregnancy or nursing.
Okay, so that's already super relevant for our listeners with labs.
Absolutely.
See, we're already onto something,
Yeah,
just from those mysterious shakes.
exactly.
Okay, so low calcium, noted. What else did this Pet MD article uncover? What other medical mysteries?
Well, it also delves into some more serious conditions like Addison's disease.
Okay.
Now, this one's a bit complicated, but essentially it's a hormonal disorder
Okay.
that affects their adrenal glands.
Those are the glands that produce hormones like adrenaline, right?
That's the one.
The ones that get us all amped up in stressful situations.
You got it. And with Addison's, those glands aren't producing enough of those essential hormones,
Oh, wow.
which can really throw a wrench in a lot of bodily functions.
So it can affect a lot of things then.
Exactly.
And shaking is one of the symptoms.
It is, along with weakness, even collapse in some cases.
Okay, so we're going from chills and tremors to some potentially serious stuff here.
Yeah,
It sounds like even if those shakes seem minor, we shouldn't ignore them,
I agree.
especially if there are other symptoms present.
Right. It's always better to err on the side of caution.
Get your furry friend checked out.
Exactly. Your vet is your best resource.
For sure. Now, we've covered some pretty straightforward medical reasons for shaking, but what about those cases that seem to come out of nowhere?
Right.
We're going deeper.
Right.
We're talking neurological stuff.
That's brain game.
Exactly. Neurological stuff, that just sounds kind of scary.
Right?
Like I'm picturing all these medical diagrams
Yeah.
with big words that I
Yeah.
can barely even pronounce, let alone understand.
Yeah.
So break it down for us. What's actually going on in the brains of these shaky pups?
Okay, so think of it this way. Your Labrador's brain, it has this section called the cerebellum,
Okay.
and that acts like their movement control center.
Their own personal little
Exactly.
movement control.
Yeah, so when it's working,
Okay.
all those tail wags, those playful jumps,
The zoomies.
the zoomies,
Yeah.
everything's happening smoothly. But if there's like a glitch in that system, things can get a little
Wonky.
wonky. Yeah, or shaky.
Literally.
Literally shaky.
So like our movements would be all over the place if our brains weren't coordinating properly.
Exactly, yeah. And one example of this is something called cerebellar hypoplasia,
Okay.
which is a mouthful, I know.
It really is.
But basically, that part of the brain, the cerebellum, it doesn't fully develop.
Oh, wow.
And this can happen actually more commonly in certain breeds,
Really?
including Labrador Retrievers.
So our listeners with labs need to pay attention here.
Right.
What does this actually look like, though? Cerebellar hypoplasia, what's going on?
So puppies with this condition, you might notice they're a bit wobbly when they walk.
Okay.
They might have trouble with their coordination kind of like they're walking on a trampoline.
Oh, no. Poor little guys.
Yeah, and they might even fall over more frequently.
Ugh.
But it's important to know it's not a progressive condition.
Okay.
So it won't necessarily get worse over time.
Okay, that's good.
But it does require careful management and understanding.
So just a little extra TLC.
Exactly. Yeah. Early intervention and support can make a world of difference.
Ah, that's good to hear. So cerebellar hypoplasia, definitely one for the Labrador owners out there. What about other reasons for these neurological shakes?
Right. So there's another condition called shaker syndrome, which, as you can probably guess, causes full-body tremors.
Okay.
And while any breed can be affected, it is more common in smaller dogs.
Interesting.
And here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Vets aren't 100% sure what causes it.
A real medical mystery.
Exactly. It's a mystery. They think it might be something to do with inflammation in the central nervous system.
Okay.
But they're still doing research to figure that out.
Wow. So even the experts are stumped sometimes.
It happens.
But I imagine, regardless of the cause, seeing your dog go through those full-body shakes,
Yeah.
that's got to be scary for an owner.
Oh, absolutely.
So what do you do if you think, oh my gosh, my dog has shaker syndrome?
Well, first and foremost, don't panic.
Okay.
Easier said than done, I know.
Right.
But your dog, they can feed off your energy.
Oh, for sure.
So if you're freaking out, they're going to freak out more.
Okay, so stay calm. Got it. Then what?
Your vet is your best friend in these situations. They can run tests to rule out other possible causes and then discuss treatment options if it is shaker syndrome.
Okay, so always a good idea to check in with the vet.
Always a good idea.
So we've got cerebellar hypoplasia, shaker syndrome. Any other neurological things we need to be aware of?
We'd be remiss not to mention shaking puppy syndrome.
Oh no, not the puppies.
I know, right? But it typically affects puppies between 2 weeks and 6 months old.
Okay.
And sadly, it can be more common in Labrador retrievers.
Oh dear.
And with this one, they tremble. They have trouble walking. Basically, their nerves aren't properly insulated.
And nerves not being insulated. What does that even mean?
Yeah, so it's like, imagine electrical wires, but they don't have enough coating.
Oh.
So things get jumbled up.
Oh.
The signals aren't being transmitted properly.
So, not good.
Not good. That's a very, very simplified explanation, of course.
Sure.
But it gives you an idea.
Definitely. And again, another reason to pay attention to those shakes, especially in those younger pups.
Absolutely. Could be a sign of something more serious.
Okay, so we've covered medical conditions, from the simple stuff to the more complex neurological stuff. What about stuff outside the body? Like, could something in their environment be triggering those shakes?
Oh, 100%. You'd be surprised how many common things around our homes are toxic to dogs.
Really?
Yeah, and those can definitely cause shaking, among other symptoms.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more about these hidden dangers.
Yeah, like when I think of things that are toxic to dogs,
Yeah.
I mean, chocolate's got to be at the top of the list, right?
Oh, absolutely. Chocolate is a big one. And it's not just some old wives' tale. It's got this compound in it, theobromine,
Okay.
and dogs. They just can't process it very well.
Oh, no.
Even small amounts, depending on the type of chocolate.
Right.
The size of your dog,
Of course, yeah.
it can cause tremors, vomiting, diarrhea.
Oh,
Worst case scenario, even worse.
yikes. Okay. So those Halloween candy stashes, got to keep those on lockdown.
Double check for sure.
What about other sneaky things we might not even think about?
Well, with more and more places legalizing marijuana,
Right.
it's super important to be careful with that.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense because
Because just like chocolate,
Right.
it's got compounds that are toxic to dogs, and guess what?
shaking is one of those side effects.
It all comes back to the shakes.
It does.
We might not think twice about it, but leaving like edibles out
Oh,
or even secondhand smoke,
absolutely.
it could be a problem,
Yeah, it's all about thinking like your dog.
right?
You know, they're curious. They sniff everything.
Oh, yeah,
So we got to be extra vigilant about what they might get into.
for sure. Yeah. Okay, so we've covered medical conditions, the more straightforward ones, the complex ones, the brain stuff. We talked about toxins lurking around our homes. But what about the emotional side of things?
Oh, good point.
Dogs have feelings too.
They do. Big feelings.
So could those shakes be coming from, I don't know, like stress,
Yeah.
anxiety?
100%. Sometimes those shakes have nothing to do with their physical body.
Wow.
It's all emotional. Think about it. Have you ever been so nervous or scared
Oh, yeah.
that you get the jitters?
Like before a presentation or something.
Exactly. Dogs, they have those same physical reactions
Yeah.
to stress, fear, anxiety.
So, like my Labrador during a thunderstorm, totally understandable.
Totally. It's that fight or flight response
Right, all right.
kicking in.
Makes sense.
When they sense danger, their body's pumping adrenaline, getting ready to either fight or run away.
Wow. So those shakes, it's like a glimpse into what's going on in their heads.
Exactly, yeah. It's their way of communicating.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot today.
We have.
Medical conditions, scary toxins.
Don't forget the brain stuff.
Oh, yeah, all the brain stuff. It's clear that these dog shakes, they can mean a lot of different things. So for our listeners out there who might be feeling a little overwhelmed right now, let's say I notice my Labrador shaking. What are the first things I should do to figure out what's going on?
Okay, so first and foremost, and I know this is easier said than done.
Okay.
Don't panic.
Okay.
Your dog, they're like emotional sponges. They pick up on your energy.
That's so true, yeah.
So if you're freaking out,
right,
they're going to freak out more.
Okay, so deep breaths. Channel that inner peace. Check. What's next?
Okay, next, think about the basics. Is your dog cold?
Could be simple.
It could. If so, wrap him in a blanket, make him a little nest.
Mm.
And remember how we talked about breed-specific needs?
Yes.
Labradors with their thick coats, they might not always show it,
Right.
but they can still get cold.
Okay, so warmth, that's one. What else?
Think about any recent changes. Have you switched up their diet lately?
Okay.
New medications.
Okay, those are good to note.
Those are important details to keep in mind. But here's the most important thing. If the shaking is constant, or if you're seeing other things, like vomiting, diarrhea, they seem really tired.
Okay.
Don't wait. Call your vet.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Exactly.
Now, how do we know when it's like a rush to the emergency vet situation
Oh, yeah.
versus like, maybe I'll book a checkup kind of shake?
That's where context is everything, right? If your dog is just shaking uncontrollably, having trouble breathing, disoriented, those are all red flags. That's an emergency.
Gotcha.
But if it's a mild tremor and they're otherwise acting like their normal selves, probably okay to schedule a regular visit.
Okay, so those are the more serious situations. But what about when the shaking seems more behavioral?
Yeah.
Like we talked about the dog who's scared of thunderstorms. What can we do to help them?
That's where behavioral help can be amazing.
Okay, so like therapy, but for dogs.
Exactly. Just like we might go to therapy for our own anxieties, there are professionals who can help dogs manage their fears.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They can teach you techniques, how to create a safe space for your dog, help them feel more secure.
That's incredible. So it's not just about treating the shakes themselves.
Right.
It's about addressing the root of the problem.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really interesting question.
Okay.
Could your dog's shaking be a way of communicating something you're not picking up on?
Wow, now that is something to think about. You're really challenging us to understand our dogs on a deeper level.
Absolutely.
Well, I think with all the information we've learned today,
That's been a lot.
it has, but it's so valuable. I think we're all better equipped to do just that, to really understand our furry friends. So next time your dog starts shaking, remember, those tremors, they could be telling a story. And who knows, you might just uncover a whole new level of understanding and connection with your beloved companion. Thank you so much to our expert for guiding us through this fascinating world of dog shaking. And to all you listeners, keep those questions coming, keep those tails wagging, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Thank you for your watching. If you find this video is helpful to you, please share it with your family and friends. Leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. And turn on the bell, that way you don't miss every single one of our videos. So that's for today's video. See you next time.